All right, welcome back to State of the Race. Joining me out to discuss, where do we even start? We have so many things to discuss today. Congressman Rich McCormick of Georgia. He's a Republican who serves on the House Foreign Affairs Committee. Congressman, thanks very much for being here.
My pleasure.
I want to start with the breaking news, which is that your colleague George Santos announced that he does not plan to run for re-election. Is that good enough for you, or do you think he should step down immediately?
I don't see how it benefits us for him to step down right now. I'm just being pragmatic as far as he's going to be a vote. He's been voting appropriately. He still represents his district. There is a legal process. He may be forced to step down for all I know. I'm not a lawyer. I'm a doctor. But I'll look forward to seeing what happens with that district, because it's very important to still pass the things that we need to be passing.
Do you think it's better on the whole for Republicans that George Santos won't be in Congress in 2025?
It would be good to have some of that drama drop from the narrative. I think we have bigger things to focus on, and it can be distracting.
So you voted against Speaker Mike Johnson's funding plan earlier this week. Why?
I felt like we could get something that was popular with all Americans, something that would benefit the country, that wouldn't cost us anything. To me, I thought either the REINS Act, which would limit executive and bureaucrat spending, which I think helps us limit the debt, or to get H.R. 2, which is wildly popular even amongst sanctuary cities now, because people realize we have a big problem with our southern border. It was something we had already passed, and I thought we could use that as something to negotiate for, at least get something out of it.
So one of your colleagues has said that, one of your conservative hardline colleagues has said there's been 2 strikes already against Speaker Mike Johnson. Do you agree with that assessment? I mean, how much time does Speaker Johnson have to get right with that portion of your party?
I don't like to engage in that sort of rhetoric, because I don't think it's helpful to what we're trying to accomplish. If Speaker Johnson is going to have any kind of power, we have to come together. I mean, you can pick anybody. The problem's not the Speaker, obviously. We've been through, McCarthy, Emmer, Scalise, Jordan, and we haven't found any consensus to tell Johnson. If we get rid of Johnson, it doesn't get rid of the problem. The problem's with the body, not with the leadership. We are a church, whether we like it or not. It's not a tyranny, it's not a cult. We're individuals, we all have different opinions, but that doesn't mean we're enemies. We have to find a way to unite to get things done.
Do you think it's possible for Republicans to do that?
We're about to find out. We've gotten, in the first portion of this Congress, we got a lot done. We actually got more done when we had a 20-vote majority. So yes, we can get it done. There are a few people that become problematic at times, and I'm hoping we can corral them and reason with them, but time will tell.
I mean, we're at the point where the former speaker is trading accusations with a hardline member of who elbowed who in the kidneys and why. I mean, who do you believe, Kevin McCarthy or Tim Burchett?
I actually had a good time with that, because I went up to Tim and I said, I'm an ER doctor. I can check you out for bruising. If you're urinating blood, we can get you dialysis if your kidneys are shutting down. But I'm also a rugby guy. I'm a Marine. I just don't take a lot of offense to friendly nudges or unfriendly nudges. I'll nudge you back. This is a man's game. Step up. These are third grade problems, not first world problems. These are third grade problems. Who cares about that stuff? Let's get on with business. That's just little side note drama.
All right, first world problems. Our military is absent hundreds of top officers because Republican Senator Tommy Tuberville has blockaded them in the Senate. And several Republican colleagues of yours on the Hill in general, were all night on the Senate floor last night saying that this has got to stop. Are you with Dan Sullivan, former Marine, and other veterans who took to the floor who said, Tommy Tuberville, stop doing this, or are you with Tuberville?
So I actually met with the commandant and
of the Marine Corps.
Right before he had his heart attack, actually, and we were talking about that. The confirmation process is very important to keeping the military ready. If you're wearing 2 hats, if you're the commandant and the assistant commandant, you're not doing your job appropriately. I think he's picked too many fights. If you're going to be selective, I can understand that. If there's a certain problem you have.
Tommy Tuberville has picked too many fights?
Yeah,
okay.
I think if you're going to make a carte blanche statement by holding up every nomination, it's going to be problematic to getting the mission done. This is problematic times in the United States history with our foreign policy, with basically on the brink of war, where we're defending Israel. We have Azerbaijan going on. We have Taiwan potentially. We have Ukraine. These are not times to be playing games with leadership. But I do understand Tuberville's point of upholding what we've already agreed to, what we have as laws, and trying to hold them accountable for what he thinks we should already have passed as laws and hold up. I know he's pro-life, and I get that, but you got to pick your fights.
Understood. Congressman, former President Donald Trump over the weekend was giving a speech on Veterans Day. And he talked about his political opponents and called them vermin. President Biden then said that this echoes Nazi rhetoric from the 1930s. Do you think this is Nazi-like rhetoric from the former president?
I think the whole use of the word Nazi is overused by both sides and by all people. Nazism, we're talking about Holocaust, we're talking about invading foreign countries, we're talking about
He was specifically talking about the 1930s, the rhetoric that was used that led to all of those terrible things you're talking about.
Well, when you're directing it at your own party, I don't think that's the way Hitler did it. I think...
what do you mean directing it at your own party?
So when you talk about your opponents, there are people who are divisive inside their own party. And I'm not just talking about Trump, I'm talking about all people. Right now, you look at our party and how it's kind of inwardly focused, and we're focused on things that divide the Republican Party rather than things that divide the Democrat Party. That's no future. The last time we won a popular election was 2004, 20 years ago. And a large part of that is because we focus on the things that divide us. It's like somebody who comes into a church and says, "Thank you, Lord, that I'm not like these other sinners. I define the party. I'm the ultimate America. I'm the ultimate Republican." That's no way to grow. If you look at what Reagan did, you didn't have to agree with everything. It's okay to disagree. We are not a cult. We don't have one person that defines the party. When somebody disagrees with you, I don't need to call you a name. It's okay to disagree and be on the same side. This is what we're missing in politics, not just between parties, but inside of our own party. And this rhetoric of calling people names, I think, is way overused, whether it be Trump calling somebody a name or somebody comparing him to Nazis. I think it's not useful to our conversation.
I mean, do you think it's acceptable what Trump said about vermin?
I didn't hear the context. Like, I don't like to judge other people's things because it just adds fuel to the fire. I'm all about moving on and actually talking about topics that are going to solve America's problems, not calling people names.
Okay. You endorsed Ron DeSantis in the presidential race. His campaign has not taken off the way some people expected that it might. What do you think he needs to be doing that he's not doing?
I was kidding with him the other day. He has a big debate coming up on November 30th in Atlanta, and he's going to be going against Newsom. He'll be the one Republican representing our party against the one Democrat representing their party. One state, Florida, versus one state, California. Vastly different policies, and you get to compare and contrast the parties and states and how they have progressed, what's successful. That's his big chance. I was saying, you need to hire Don King, Ric Flair, come out, Rocky Balboa shows, make a big deal out of this, get as much traction as you can, because this might be your Hail Mary. Use it and make a good point, because this is his one chance to really shine.
This might be your Hail Mary. That's an interesting way to think about it. If it is his Hail Mary and it doesn't work, who's your next choice for Republican president? Nikki Haley, Donald Trump?
So I think, I love Nikki. I think she's got some great points. She's very experienced, obviously a UN ambassador, a governor. She's well-spoken, educated. Quite frankly, Trump's shown that he can run an economy, that he has policies that I think benefit a lot of people. Really, I'm trying to get away from these failed policies. Look, there's several policies that are failing for the Democrats we don't focus on. The border, crime, debt, education, energy. Those things unite the Republican Party and divide the Democrat Party. Those are the things we need to focus on, regardless of who the candidate who comes out of the primary is.
All right, Congressman Rich McCormick, thank you very much for joining me today.
My pleasure.
I really appreciate it. It's great to have you.